right, so this topic, as we've mentioned, is should girls and ladies be encouraged to wear skirts? A very controversial topic for centuries, in not just in Christendom, but in the world, all right? And last week, we established first and foremost God's intent for gender distinctions in creation and clothing. Now, we saw very clearly God made this statement. Let's read together. The woman shall not wear that which pertaineth unto a man, neither shall a man put on a woman's garment, for all that do so are abomination unto the Lord. Now, unto the Lord thy God. Now, before the children of Israel went into the promised land, God gave this instruction, rather command, to them. Because at creation, we read, God created men and women. Gender distinction is clear at creation. And whatever God creates as intentions and supposed to be the norm, Satan will always try to distort and destroy everything. All right? So he's the destroyer. He's the enemy of God. So God then told his children, now before you even enter the promised land, this is how the heathens are. They will cross-dress. They will not care about all these things. There are these kind of problems. So Israel did not really have this problem. Why give this instruction? To prepare them when they enter into the promised land where they'll be surrounded by the nations. Heathen, idolatrous nations. The same principle to us applies to us today. We live in this world surrounded by unbelievers who will, according to the spirit of the wicked one, using the system of the world, seek to destroy what God intends at creation. Gender distinction. Very clearly. All right? We too must know, just like the children of Israel, that the world around them will seek to do that. And one of, like I was explaining to someone, the most powerful weapon would be garments. Garments. That's the immediate, when you set your eyes on someone, that's the immediate thing you seek. The garments, the distinction through garments would be an immediate effect. So Satan will use that as the most powerful weapon to try and distort God's intention of gender distinctions. All right? So God here specifically says, woman shall not wear that which pertaineth unto a man. Whatever is seen and understood, this is for men. You don't wear it, women. And for the man, anything that you know is intended for a woman's garment. You don't do so. Now, God uses the word abomination, as I've underlined previously. It's an abomination unto the Lord. Christian, you must view this issue not simply as, well, it's a good to have, it depends on my conviction. Now, when things are like that, God does not use the word abomination. This is how God feels about this. But we are so used to the ways of the world, we begin to think it is a personal preference. Like many other areas of sin. Because the whole world is so used to that, we do not see it as an abomination to God. All right, so we established that last week. Now, so today we want to move to society's view of women and skirts. So we gave you the view of God regarding at least garments in gender distinction. The view of God is an abomination when we refuse to follow. Now we want to look at society's view. Now, why is it important to view society's view? Because just like when they go in there, the land, now what is considered that they will say, this is for women, this is for men. Now they need to take that clearly into consideration. So what would it be when they're there? Just like us today, what would it be in society's view? What is gender distinction? Now we have to be clear about that. But I want to make some caveats first, all right? Because I get some questions and then I just want to clear those things out of the way. Now, first and foremost, the scope. Western dressing is about Western dressing society and norms. Please do not quote. What happens if you live in the North Pole and in Alaska? All right? We are talking about normal wear. All right? So people can say, oh, what about Alaska? We are not talking also about cultural dressings, cultural attires. All right? So we are talking about society norms. So I'll answer questions like, then what about sarongs, right? Male sarongs. What about kilts? We'll answer that, but this is not, this is not about that. It's the normal society norm, right? So our climate is generally mild winters, hot summers. We are not talking about those extremes. Now, ladies and girls of average age and no major sicknesses requiring specific attires. We are not talking about, so my grandma, right, very old. Some people ask about, what about sick people, old people? In the hospital, they're lying there, you want them to be immodest? We are not talking about those, all right? Are you lying in a sick bed? Skirts. Now, skirts specifically referring to modest. I'm not talking about mini skirts, all right? Don't after that, wear skirts, then you come in mini skirts. be realistic. And we are talking about contemporary designs, not Victorian. Because I sense some of you think that pastor is trying to take the church back to the Victorian days where you wear huge flaring skirts with hoops inside and multi-layers. Now, we are not talking about that. We are not talking about going back to that. It's just simply what is contemporary now, right? What will be considered normal skirts. So please have that cleared up, all right? Now, and another thing I want to mention is this. This is not meant to turn church into a fashion show every Sunday. Don't take this as, so now I'll go up and just keep buying. A husband wears skirts, so just keep buying. If you have skirts, wear the skirts. If you have been dressing in a feminine attire, gender clear, you don't have to go out and buy some more clothes. I do not want this to be misunderstood that now you must look very different when you have already been looking normal in feminine tops and skirts, right? So please don't turn this into a fashion show. And with the excuse that, pastor say we must have skirts, so I buy a lot of skirts and all that, all right? And so on. So please be clear about that. And do not stir one another to be covetous and lustful and want to have a big wardrobe and all that at the excuse of this topic. Okay, so I just want to make that very clear. Now, why focus on skirts? Because society also considers it to be a distinctively woman's garment. So God says, now do not wear that which pertains to a man or a woman, right? Garments of a woman. Now, there are garments that are pertaining to women. Even society says that. So why focus on skirt? Because society does view skirt as something that is distinctly gender focus, and that's for women. Society considers that. We'll see afterwards why. I'll prove to you. So we've already covered this verse. Now, first and foremost, you have to know, around the world today, there is this focus, all right, to erase gender distinctions. You already know that. But especially when it comes to dressing, teens, please know, the designers design clothes to erase gender distinction. You see young people dress up, you can't really tell boys or girls these days. Now, God wants gender distinctions. Erasing gender distinction is something that the Christian must abhor because it's abominable to God. That is how you must think. Can a boy wear skirt to school? New York Times. Now, in recent years, a growing number of teenagers have been dressing to articulate or confound gender identity and sexual orientation. So it is clear the world is dressing towards that, erase gender distinction. Some schools have faced boys wearing pink frilly scarves and makeup and girls trying to dress themselves like male gang members. Now, this is an article from New York Times. In the US, it's a problem. They see this in society. This is the trend, erasing gender distinction. So please, know that the world is hard, the system of the world of Satan is hard after this particular thing where God considers abomination. Just like many other things, right? Adultery, divorces, and so on. Make it normal. Now, from another article, all right? Controversy, boys wearing skirts to school. What's going on? Controversy cannot be isolated from the movement to normalize homosexuality. Now, you listen to podcasts, it's full of this. They acknowledge normalizing homosexuality is something that is the trend now. And it says, and the movement cannot be separated from an effort to remove all notions of fixed gender roles and sexual identity. The society is, they themselves are acknowledging fashion, thinking are all geared towards removing all ideas of fixed gender roles. Now, fixed gender roles, please know, the dressing is tied to gender. They acknowledge that. That's why if they want to remove this idea of gender roles, then they must attack dressing as well, because dressing in the world themselves acknowledge that it has to do with gender roles. Now remember when I first showed God created man and woman, and clothes pertaining to man, clothes pertaining to the woman. Now, it is not just gender, all right? Remember, the word also has to do with roles, all right? Leadership, and so on. So this attack on gender identity is not just about gender identity. It's also about the roles that God intended at creation. Please know that. I hope that you remember this. Now, so I'll give you an example, right? So number one, this thing, keep in mind, the world wants to remove gender identity to confound God's intent and to remove gender roles. I'll cite you something that I find very amusing. Now, so The Guardian in the UK, The Guardian, there was an article that came out. Now, don't ban skirts in school. Let everybody wear them. Why? Because 40 British schools ban skirt as part of their move towards gender-neutral uniform. So the school said, we want gender neutrality, as I've already told you. Then they said, then ban skirts. Now, so this newspaper writer was very astute. He said, why is allowing girls to wear trousers progressive? So ban skirts, so girls wear trousers. Why is it progressive? But boys wearing skirt is preposterous. Why? If you want to be gender neutral, why are you forbidding skirts in school? For schools not to address this double standard feels disappointingly remiss. British. Very precise in their way of describing things. Now what he's saying is this. If you want to be gender neutral, then you must say that all garments are gender neutral. How can you say you want to be gender neutral, but you ban skirts? Then what you are saying is that skirts do truly have a gender identity. Please understand what he's saying. All right? It's British wit. If you ban skirts, you are acknowledging that skirts have a gender identity. You cannot do that. To do that, you're exercising double standard. If girls can wear skirt, girls can wear pants, then boys must be allowed to wear skirt because that is true gender neutrality, even in dressing. Now, my point is this, dear hearers. The world acknowledges, even when schools say we want to be gender neutral, they will say, but when it comes to skirt, this has a gender identity. What I'm trying to tell you is, why are we covering skirts? The world acknowledges that skirts have a gender identity. That is why they keep it out of school. The moment you wear skirt, you are trying to say something. Now then I show you the other extreme. In Queensland, closest to home, this young girl, all right, sued the school. But the tribunal found, she had no case. Because the school, she said, a Queensland tribunal found a school didn't discriminate against a student by requiring females to wear skirts to formal occasions. Now, even unbelievers of the world, they say that, women must wear skirts. They still identify skirts with gender identity. So she got very upset, she sued and said, if I wear skirts, then greater financial burden because I have to buy skirts as well as pants, right? And then, when I sit in public, I need to exercise more care. And colder weather, then, it's uncomfortable. Then, when certain activities that I need to take part in, then I feel that, I can't take part in that so freely. Then you say, that when they require males to wear shorts or trousers, despite both items of clothing being everyday attire for women? Why must I be asked to wear skirt? Schools acknowledges, whether you want to. Christian, we must come to this point. It doesn't matter what you and I think. If the world says skirt has a gender identity, we cannot put our head in the ground and say, no, it doesn't. God talks about garments. You live in this world, and even the world says there is a gender identity to skirts. Now, skirts are still the most distinctive attire today associated with apparel for women. You cannot run away from that. Now that you know, God designed and commands that females dress distinctively and not wear that what pertains to male. Even the world acknowledges that skirts are distinctively for females. Then I'll ask you this question. The world acknowledges skirt is distinctively gender for female, gender specific. They want to erase that. Now, as a Christian, God says, wear that which is gender distinctive. The Christian can no longer think it is optional, it is up to me when we live in this society, in this world. Now, then I come to the aim of the study, and I want to clear this quickly, right? Because I sense tension sometimes. I want to make clear, and I will do more Q&A on this area, but I want to make certain things clear, right? Don't think that I am taking us back to Victorian times and so on. Number one, now the aim of the study is to help you realize, prioritize wearing skirts because it's most gender distinctive. That is the main thing I want to bring across. If in this world skirts are gender specific, then the Christians should prioritize that, because God says dress gender specific. I hope you are paying attention. You will dress in a way where you will be most likely visually identified with skirts in the minds of others at work and in church. Now, because skirts are gender specific and is considered female, as Christians in this world, people's thought of us must be, she is someone who wears skirts. Because now if you come to church and you just close your eyes and you think, who I would naturally associate this girl, this lady, this female with skirts. Who are they? Or who do I naturally associate with pants? Who are they? Now my point is to awaken us. If it's so gender distinctive, we should be associated with them as a norm, right? If you're seen as someone who, people think of you, oh, that's a pants female. There's a pants female. Then we know we have failed, right? Now, unless, here's where, let me clarify now, right? Unless due to compelling reasons like modesty is compromised, even with appropriate skirts and precautions, even with that, modesty will be compromised, then that is different, because God gives both principles in the Bible, right? But God says, be gender distinctive. Yeah, there is a modesty part. The gender distinctive, you portray that, and whatever you need to do, then make sure, if it's for modesty, you still do it in a way that is appropriate. Sports or outdoor activities, I answer some of these, like sports and outdoors. We are not saying, someone actually really thought that pastor is going crazy. Pastor is even saying that when we come for BZB, you must wear skirt, right? I don't know how come it's like that. There are modesty involved. I've covered this, I've said this. Why do you still think like that? So I'm not taking us there, right? All right, parents, please make sure your child understand that. Now, sports and outdoor. Now, but I'm not saying, for example, seniors fellowship. Some ladies are scheduled to mop the floor. I see many of them who are skirts people, gender distinctive. They wear a skirt to mop the floor. I don't think that is a problem. I'm not saying that the moment you have to do something physical, you must go and wear pants, all right? I think I better be clear about that. Now, compulsory uniform, what if it's compulsory uniform at school or at work? Now, the question is this, but what after work? I'll answer that Q&A, all right? Illnesses or other physical infirmities. Is this clear? I hope this is out of the way, all right? We are not going to immodest extreme. So now, let me put forth the first contention. Women wearing pants are not associated with the feminist movement today anymore, right? Therefore, I'm not convinced that I should not wear pants. This is my view. So you're the first to hear, among many first to hear. I always felt, and I never dealt with this in depth, because I thought, give the principle. And I thought, this whole idea of erasing gender identity, a statement of, I wear the pants, I defined it in the last session, this thing, I do not want to be tied to a gender, a female, and then now what, I cannot wear pants? Pants is about men, so I want to wear pants. Now I thought all those will pass. Don't need to deal with that. So I'll tell you openly, that was my view. Until someone kept asking about this, then I did research. Then I realized I was wrong. And I hope that you will be convinced. It took me to convince myself about this. So you may say, nothing to do with feminist movement, this gender neutrality, this I am woman, I wear pants, to tell you men that I am also masculine, right? Like you. So I'm not convinced. Now, is it true? Women wearing pants are not associated with feminist movement today. Is it true? Now, I am going to fast forward. I'm going to show you the history. But I know history, you get bored. But I want to show you fast forward. Today, right now, famous names, right, big names in fashion industry, in fashion design, big names in the social realm, all right, whether it's music, a musician or artist, big names. Now, if big names say that in fashion world, in the world of wearing pants or skirt pants, means this, fashion houses support it. Big names say this is what I mean when I wear this. The Christian cannot say that it has nothing to do with the feminist movement anymore. You and I cannot pretend. I cannot pretend anymore. Lady Gaga. Anyone knows? I'm sure, I hope you all know, but not know in a bad way, right? As you listen to her and you follow her. Fashion trendsetter, big name in society. ELLE, fashion house. No. Lady Gaga's decision to wear pants suit, I have to censor the top, right? It was quite indecent. For 2018's Women in Hollywood Awards was an act of self-empowerment or a feminist statement. Now, I'm not, these are not my words. This is quoted from Women and Pants, a timeline of fashion liberation by HuffPost, all right? Now, this, when she wore this, she made clear this is a feminist statement. Because Lady Gaga told the crowd, as she accepted the award, she said, "Today, I wear the pants." She made that clear statement, right? Well, she said, as a woman who was conditioned at a very young age to listen to what men told me to do, I decided today I wanted to take the power back. It's not just about gender, erasing gender distinction, because erasing gender distinction is for the purpose of saying, you and I take the power back. Why must things be like in church, like at home, the men are head? Why? I challenge that. Today, when she went up, she said, today I wear the pants. Now I want to ask you this. Well, first thing, can we say, with all these big name and big fashion houses, that the world does not associate skirts or pants with feminist movement? We cannot say that anymore. We cannot. I can hide my head in the ground and pretend I don't know about this and don't tell you. I cannot, as your pastor. I'm to present you a chaste virgin. If that is the case, then I have to let you know and hope that you will disassociate yourself from it. It's still part of the feminist statement. Number two, now I want you to notice her pants. It looks like sarong to me, you know. It is a very lady-cut pants. I won't even say lady-cut pants. I would practically, it's a lady-cut skirt pants. Can we say that only if only when I wear pants that are distinctly men, and if I wear things that are, well, culottes and lady cut skirt and so on, then it's fine. But in the feminist statement in this world today, that the world looks at all these famous names and famous fashion houses, this kind of pants, it is more lady cut than the pants that many of you wear, that I myself got used to and I myself felt is fine. Now with this statement to the world, I can no longer say that, well, lady cut pants, which are far more men than this, is all right. Now the reason why I fast forward this to you, instead of going through all the history first, which I still think is important for you to understand, is to let you and myself know we are not living in the times where lady cuts pants is not a feminist statement. We are not living in such a time that I thought we were in. We are not living in a time where wearing pants is not a statement of the feminist movement that is still very alive today. So feminine cut pants are not gender statements. Is it true? Like I said, Lady Gaga and Elle fashion are clearly prominent representatives of social trend in contemporary society. Your layperson view, my pastoral view of fashion cannot be more representative than theirs. Please know that. Lady Gaga pants are what many of you consider as feminine looking, right? So now there is a sudden fact that we are faced with, that we cannot run away from, that I have to deal with, that I hope that you begin to now see when God says, I abhor this erasing of gender distinction. I abhor that. I find that it's abominable. The world themselves clearly say, we want to go against what your God intends. The Christian can no longer say that, well, it's my preference and all that. Now, unless you feel that, yeah, really, I don't really care about what God wants, what God finds abominable, it's my view, my layperson's view. We can no longer say that. The world views women in pants as a statement that they want to break gender norms, even today. The world says today nearly all cultures and religions are accepting of women wearing pants, except a few, save a few, but it's taken a while to get here. So why? Now this is a quote of a fashion designer, all right? Now, so the world says, you know how difficult it is to get culture and religion to come to the time today where wearing pants is actually fine for women. You know how difficult it is to get here? But we are here. Christian, you must know why you feel this way, why you struggle. It's because you are here with them for some time already. You got used to that. And they say, you know how difficult it is to get you to reach a state of mind, which when you wear something that the world says is for men, and still feel it's okay, and you get angry at Christians who tell you otherwise. You know how difficult it is to get you here? It's like parenting, right? You keep trying to persuade your child, this is sinful. But they have been drummed by the school, by their friends, to the point where it's so difficult to change their thinking. Then you say, you know how difficult, you know what it took for you to get here, and how difficult it is now for me to change you? This is the person talking. We got here through a lot of sacrifices, women. Please know that. Please stand with us to fight it. Now, how did it reach a stage where Lady Gaga will wear something like sarong but say, this is pants and this is my statement to the world? How did it reach that stage? Let's go through some history quickly. You need to know. Now, what I'm going to show you next, this is how I want you to notice the trend. Number one, women always wore skirts, by and large. All right? But over time, because of work, they needed to wear pants. But it was a need. But then it moved to become a fashion. Not just no longer a need, but a fashion. And from fashion, because society still frowned very severely on women wearing pants-like clothes. Society frowned on that. Please know that there was a time it was like that. Even the world understood the gender distinctiveness of skirts and pants. Then women got angry. Then they began to rebel. Why can't we wear pants? Then it became common wear today. All right, so what I'm trying to show you, there's a lot of things involved, but what I'm trying to show you is this trend. From work to fashion, to rebellion, to keep that fashion, to now common wear. All right, that's how we got here. Now let's begin. Now, how working women changed fashion? Because of World War II, men fought. Women had to take regular jobs. Now, because of practical and functional reasons, they made pants, all right? They are, well, maybe feminine looking. Now, it gave women the independence and right to earn their own money, and shortly also the right to vote. So it's a period where a lot of this were changing. Women were not allowed to vote. Now, please know, I am not against women voting, all right? This is a separate issue. But many things were now happening. Women felt that now we are given the right to vote. You see, we are up now, which they should be given the right to vote. And then they said, no, and then they tied it to this idea of men and women's equality. Now the saying, wearing the pants in a relationship is when someone is in charge and makes the big decisions for both people. It is quite literally what they did, since they now started wearing pants as a result of this revolution. Now it began to be more and more a statement, right, rather than just practicality. Coco Chanel, right? Many of you know another big name. Now, Coco Chanel changed the course of women's fashion. So you want to know about the change? She was a key figure. Now, she was not a feminist, or she would not declare herself as a feminist. She didn't invent the women's pants, but she began to introduce this women's pants as a fashion garment. She popularized it. The designer liked wearing pants herself. She often borrowed them from her male lovers. And so this is taken from how Coco Chanel changed the course of women's fashion from CNN. And she began to wear these flowing beach pajamas, vacationing on French Riviera, drawing inspiration from the straight white cuts of sailors' pants. So you've seen men's sailors' pants, all right? If you've seen, they are kind of like the women pants you wear now. Then she took inspiration from them. She said, I want to wear that. Let's make it fashionable. She liked the comfort. She liked the shape. She liked them loose. Is that why you wear all this? Same reasons. Comfortable, loose. Well, it's gender distinctive, but I don't really care. But my comfort, my preference, the way I look is what I prioritize, all right? So she began to introduce these kind of ideas. Why do you want to be tied to a gender-specific garment when you can have comfort, look nice and all that? Then she began to dress it with oversized shirts and sleeveless tops and so on. The garment considered risque at that time. Please know what you wear today, that you say this is very feminine, at a time in society when society was so clear, this gender distinction in skirts and pants was so clear. Sadly, they were more Christian than us. Was so clear that when you wear something that you wear today, that you're wearing today to church, like on Friday, and so many of you wore that, at that time when gender distinction was clear, was something risque, means something that is very sexual. But today, how did it get here? It took a long time to get here. Now then, so to them, it is something that you would only wear in your bedroom, all right? So what I'm trying to say is this. You know how far we have gone in gender distinction? That is how far we have gone. And they acknowledge it. You know how difficult it is to get you to here? They acknowledge it in the fashion world. They say religion and society never accepted such things because the gender distinction is so clear. God wants us to have clarity in gender distinction. Now, some more. Right? So now it moved from work to fashion. Now then, when you think Coco Chanel, you should think of androgyny. Now this means erasing gender distinctions. She managed to do that through fashion. It did not happen without, something being designed with an intention. Now, at time, Chanel refused to be called a feminist, but she did defend the idea a person should express themselves on how they feel and not how their gender supposedly tells them to feel. However you want to feel, you should not let anyone tell you skirts should be distinctive for a woman. You should not let all those things define you. What does God say? You are defined by your garments. Coco Chanel, make sure that you learn this, women, do not let garments define your gender. So that is how it developed. Whether out of defiance or what, mixed up the vocabulary of male and female clothes, her designs were a symbol of independent women. So that is how it became fashionable and it became rebellious. Women and pants, a timeline of fashion liberation. So when you trace the timeline of all these changes, women and pants, in Western European American society, pants are one of the most gendered garments in history. In the fashion world, they still acknowledge that pants is one of the most gendered garments. That is why they say, because it's a gendered garment, I am woman, I want to wear pants, because they know it's identified with that. I don't want to wear skirt because it's identified with a gender female. Pants have long been and often still are more associated with men and subsequently power. You say, oh, no. No? I'll show you afterwards. Now, but for centuries, women have been breaking conventions. It's all about breaking conventions. Now, when God put this in His laws, it was something that even unbelievers found it common, makes sense, for a long time. They were just following what God says, although they don't believe in God, but it was something that was like that in society. But Satan has to make sure he changed it. He changes it, right? Now, it was a time where both the United States and France had laws in place that made it illegal for women and men to go out in public wearing clothes that didn't belong to his or her sex. They were actually implementing what Israel implemented and what churches should make sure of because of God's commandments. Society was doing that. You say, well, do we follow society? Now, when society's laws upholds the laws of God, then we happily support it, right? We can't say, oh, we shouldn't follow society. So please know, there was a time that the thinking was so gender-specific. That is my point here. Now, let me go further. The evolution of androgynous fashion, unisex, basically, all right? Katharine Hepburn, those of you my age or older, you will know, and Marlene Dietrich, all right? Famous actresses. Actually, I don't really know them, but I know that they are related with big Hollywood names at that time. During the post-suffrage generation, post-suffrage means the time when women were depressed and so on. Now, after that, women now have rights and all that. Now, there were fierce type of independence and need to shake conventional gender norms. Now, in the evolution of androgynous fashion, these are the names linked to the desire to shake conventional gender norms. Paraphrased in biblical terms, remove what God wants in gender distinction. Hepburn, all right? Katharine Hepburn famously told Calvin Klein, you know Calvin Klein, right? Anytime I hear a man say he prefers a woman in skirt, I say, try one, try a skirt. Thus underlining just how laughable the idea of forcing someone into style solely based on tired gender norm is. Now she said, you know this whole idea that there is distinction in garments, when God says yes, there is, it's a tired gender idea, tired gender norm. It's old-fashioned, it's irrelevant. But God's law is not. When it comes to gender distinction, God made it a creation distinction, making it very clear. But they say this is a tired gender norm. Anytime I hear a man say, wear a skirt, oh, you like women in skirts, you like skirts, then you wear one. Wear one. She's trying to say, why must you say, I like a woman in skirt? You like skirts, then men should wear skirts too. You like skirts, right? Men wear skirt, right? That was how she mocked this gender distinction. Then, well, Dietrich, the same. She was non-binary, means, she's a lesbian. Was the same, undermining this gender identity. Okay? So, development from work to fashion, now to rebellion. Please do not think that pants skirt is not about rebellion. The history was that, and I showed you Lady Gaga and Elle. Today, it is still like that, if not stronger. All right? Now, that is why I wanted to show you fast forward first. If not, you say, when you're listening to all this, Pastor, you know all this are passé. You need to keep up to the times. I have kept up to the times of Lady Gaga and Elle, which are big names. Now, women in slacks in Canberra Parliament, all right, in 1933. So we went from 1910s, 1933. Do you know that in Australia, at one time, all right, dress in Parliament are expected. Women wearing skirt are expected. Women in slacks excluded from Senate President's ruling, all right? So, women in slacks. So you wear slacks, you're not allowed to attend Parliament. Now then, this particular woman wore pants and went to the Parliament. It was such a novel idea that another senator would run there. Hey, someone told me a lady wore a pants. It's so unheard of, unknown, unexpected. I just want to see. Today we wear it like norm. And I want to go back to this emphasis. This rebellion, all right, is still the same today. Lady Gaga's say so. Elle magazine say so. You cannot say that it is no more about the feminine movement, the rebellion against God's abomination. You cannot say that anymore. I cannot say that anymore. All right? I have to change my whole thinking, even as a pastor. All right? Now, in 1960s, now we move to the 60s and 70s, it reached a stage where pants finally seem to stick to you also, right? Up to this time, up to this period, there were so many women who had defied norms by wearing pants. Please know, wearing pants is about defying gender norms. Lady Gaga still says that today. Pants have become a symbol of freedom that women didn't have before. Now I'm going to answer the question at the end, all right? But I don't wear it for that. For the first time in 1960s, rebellious youth wearing clothing is an influencing fashion. So now it's about influencing fashion. So now what you wear, well, this is a fashion, right? Now, I'm sure some of you oldies will know the name Mary Quant, or some of you in the fashion who are familiar, you know Mary Quant. Now, Mary Quant, who's representing both mini skirts and pants on the runway. Now, she began to now take it to the next level. Not just skirts, but mini skirts. And on fashion runway, pants, clear-cut pants. The whole aim is to build this rebellious new spirit influencing high fashion. All right? So it did not become so fashionable out of a vacuum. It did not become so fashionable to a stage today where Lady Gaga says, please know, at this fashion award, I should make it very clear. This dress, this pants skirt that I'm wearing is about I wear the pants, the feminine statement. Now, fashion symbols, the power suit. You say, well, you know, is it really so relevant today? Now, the whole idea of a power suit, some of you know she's coming in a power suit. The whole idea of wearing a man's jacket top like that, we show the padding to make broad shoulders, and pants that look like that. Now, these things that women you wear to work, please don't think that it came out of a vacuum. At that time, it was, the point is, I am equal as men. I do not believe in any gender distinction, and they should not be. Now, we have made it very clear, gender distinction in terms of authority at workplace is not what we talk about. It's the home. But it carried to the whole idea, as long as you're a woman, why do you submit to gender distinction, whether at work, in church, or at home? Now, so you know famous designers like Giorgio Armani, the suit featured broad shoulders. So now it began to be very manly. Now you say, but it's back then. You know, look at this black and white. Can't even get a color photo, right, Pastor? It's so long ago, right? Fast forward, right? Pants and pantsuits remain deeply connected with masculinity. You cannot run away. The world acknowledges that. When it comes to the pantsuit, it is deeply connected to masculinity. All right? Now, Let's fast forward to 21st century. Now, women wearing pants today is still a feminist statement. The Christian cannot ignore this. All right? Does not matter whether you're convinced or convicted or not. Society says that clearly. And when you see them, when they see you wear it, they don't care what reasons you wear it for. They don't care. To them, you're supporting our movement, right? Now, there are many things in the Christian walk. You know, you avoid it because you do not want to support what the society is trying to portray, even though it may be not something that is sinful in your view, but say, I will not want to support the promotion of such ideas to my children and to people in church. Now, when you see it, to them it's good. You are supporting this movement. Now, masculinity and authority. The feeling that I must wear pantsuit, that I must wear suits, that I must wear pants, because it is about a fight to show that gender distinction is wrong. God's plan of gender distinction, to God is abominable, to the world, you must make sure it is wrong. I take you to current date, Hillary Clinton. Now, she made it very clear. Women in the world make it very clear. We had to fight for our right to wear pants. Society would not accept that. We fought to wear pants. So Christian, please be aware of this idea. Do not think that it is something that is olden days and long ago. This government offers comfort mobility now. When Hillary Clinton had to do this shot, she made sure that she made the change. Now at that time, so she was one of the early adopter of this pantsuit, and she made headlines with this photo. Now, prior to that, there was a senator in 1933. Her name is Senator Barbara Mikulski. She started, and she was known as the pantsuit rebellion in politics. She wore that, and now Hillary Clinton today. When she made this portrait recently, right, some time back, of course, but in our day and age, she chose to do that, and it made a very big statement. So is wearing pantsuit, a statement that is passé? No. People on the world stage do that. Give me 5 minutes. Contention. So you say, but I'm not wearing pants to make a statement, and my friends don't as well. When I go to work where they wear this kind of pants skirt, they are not making this kind of statement. So why go through all this change? Now, I wear pants only because it's comfortable, convenient, and more common. That is all. I don't want to be out of place. Can we still say, just because my heart has no intention, then, and my friends don't have such intention, then it's okay for me to wear it? God made a commandment. Don't erase gender distinction in your garments as well. God made that commandment. It doesn't matter what we feel, why we are doing it. You don't do this in many areas in your Christian life. Now you have to make that change in your thinking. It's new. I know it's new to me. I know myself too, right? I too have to make that change, like many other areas in life. Let's read together. And be not conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind, that you may prove what is that good and acceptable and perfect will of God. What is the will of God found in the Word? Gender distinction. Garments must show that. Then choose that which is clearly gender distinctive, and admit that your mind must change. And when you know the world says that this is a feminist statement, then the world says that we cannot let ourselves be conformed to that. You may not support it, doesn't matter. Your mind must be renewed. They are attacking what God wants. God wants this to the point He uses the word abominable. They are attacking that. You cannot say, I love God, I want to glorify Him, I want to promote His name, and say, when they attack that, but it's comfortable to me, it's convenient to me, it's common to me, I don't really care what God wants. We cannot. The mind has to change. If the world did not say all that, if I didn't know that Lady Gaga and Elle Fashion makes those statements collaboratively, I would not say all these things. But even I have to change my mind now. Let's read together. Ye are the light of the world. A city that is set on a hill cannot be hid. Neither do men light a candle and put it under a bushel, but on a candlestick. And he giveth light unto all that are in the house. Let your light so shine before men, that they may see your good works and glorify your Father which is in heaven. What God says must be something reflected in you. You're the candle. You say, I want to glorify God. I want to bear a good testimony. When you go to work, everyone is like that. But if God wants me to be gender distinctive, then that is my light. You can see it's comfortable and all that. Now we will talk about what about modesty and all that. You need to sit on the floor and all that. We'll talk about that in Q&A, all right? But first, set the principle. This is my first desire, my first priority, my first go-to. Because when I go and they are like that, I say, oh, gender distinctive. Then you have just become a light. So you want to be light, now you have a new test. You have a new test. It does not matter what you think and why you wear pants or feminine-looking pants. It does not matter. It is the light that you represent. That is what matters. The world views women in pants as a statement that the woman wants to break gender norms even today. So you cannot simply say that I'm not convicted, I'm not convinced, because that is not why I wear it. Now, if you're not convicted and you're not convinced about tattoos, but you still don't wear it because you know God says simply, do not cut, make mark on your flesh. It doesn't matter your friends do it. It doesn't matter you do it. Even for religious reason, put Jesus Christ. You don't do that. Why? Because you know God says no. And you know this is what the world still thinks about tattoos. All right? Then you say, I have nothing to do with that. It's the same. We just need to change our mindset. But it touches something that is very personal, how you look. How you want to feel about how you look. Now, that's why it's so touchy, right? Now, let me close by getting us to read this. So, God created man in his own image. And in the image of God created he, male and female created he them. Creation principle. To maintain creation principle, let's read this. The woman shall not wear that which pertaineth unto a man, neither shall a man put on a woman's garment, for all that do so are an abomination unto the world. Even the world today says, woman, pants are for men, so wear them. Even if it's loose and whatever, it's a statement. Woman, skirts are for women, so don't wear them. This is what they want to do. Last slide, and I'm done. Society has made clear. So this is my conclusion. Society has made clear that they want to break gender distinctions and make garments either as a show of power for women or to erase gender distinction. We have established that. Society has made clear that it is not just about masculine-looking pants, but also about feminine-style pants, are statements that they too wear the pants. Lady Gaga showed that. These are statements. It is not just very men-looking pants. Then it does not matter what I personally wear such pants. But I should avoid affirming the message by my garment choices. And since they also make clear that skirts are distinctively women, then I should make skirts my norm, go-to dressing. Be known to be dressing in skirts. Since my God wants me to dress in gender distinctive way in the eyes of the world, and the world has been fighting, and now still fighting, is gender distinctive to wear skirts and to wear pants, then I will wear what is clearly gender distinctive, because that is what my God wants, and otherwise is an abomination to him. Let's close in prayer. What do we have here? Top 5 reasons why church dropouts, what church dropouts say, why they stop attending church. Now, please remember 66% of, well, I take the American view, they are the most readily available results. They stop attending church at least a year after turning 18. So from